So I do this every Tuesday. You know, on Monday I do Colin Right, Colin Wrong. And every Tuesday at this time, Monday Night Football's over, I say these are the 10 best teams in the league. And so we don't have any games yet. This is based off the draft, free agency, injuries, what I've seen in the preseason. Here we go. Our 10 through 1 are herd hierarchy.
Herd hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
Chicago Bears. I like their defensive personnel. I think there's limitations with Mitch Trubisky. Last 5 games, he had 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The good news for the Bears is, I think for the first time in 20 years, I simultaneously like their coach, Matt Nagy, and their general manager, Ryan Pace. Offensive line, we'll see. Quarterback, low ceiling. They lost defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. Their schedule now is a first-place schedule. Listen, we know defensively their front seven's going to be a handful, but I think there's a lot of good front sevens in the NFL, and they have better quarterbacks. So I put the Bears at 10. The Chargers. Now, last year I had them near the top, but Derwin James, their best athlete, is out until probably Thanksgiving. Melvin Gordon, I wouldn't want to pay him more than $9-10 million a year, but he matters, and he's out. They've also had Terrell Williams, the wide receiver, their third receiver's now in Oakland. Jason Verrett, a good corner, left. And, you know, I just think they've lost their best athlete on defense. Their best running back on offense. And Russell Okung, they've had health issues with him on the offensive line. So I don't think it's going to be a great September for the Chargers. I think it's going to be a little bumpy. I've got them at 9. Dallas Cowboys. Again, they've got new coordinators. I expect them to be battling for a playoff spot by the end of the year. But it's very possible with new coordinators, the Zeke situation, they're not as dialed in as you'd want them to be. Here's what I like about Dallas. They were 7-2 with the Amari Cooper trade. Jason Witten's come in, the healthy offensive line. For the first time, it feels like in like a 15, 18 months, their offensive line is healthy. So it's a very good football team. They also ended, I haven't heard much about Randall Cobb, but they also threw him into the bunch at wide receiver. So I think this is a very good Dallas Cowboy team that's got a remarkable number of great players under 25. Now, I'd rather you be older once the playoffs start, but I think that serves them well in the regular season. Green Bay, again, they could be much higher than this. I have them winning their division. I think they've made a real commitment to defense in the last couple of years. I thought they had a very, very good draft defensively. And I thought they had a very good free agent. They picked up mid-level free agents like Preston Smith, the linebacker from Washington. Didn't cost them a fortune. They got Billy Turner on the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers had a down year, but it was 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think their schedule is very workable. In fact, I think they win their opener at Chicago on Thursday. I think it's a very interesting team that will likely be better as the season goes on. They are young in spots, but they've always developed a very good offensive line. Devontae Adams is a ascending star at wide receiver. Aaron Jones is one of the more underrated running backs in the league. And Aaron Rodgers is healthy, so I have Green Bay at 7. Houston Texans. I think they have the best quarterback, wide receiver, defensive lineman, and arguably left tackle in their division. I don't care about the draft picks. Don't forget this. The Houston Texans are interesting. Like when I say Houston Texans, you're like, they're okay. They've won their division 3 of the last 4 years. That's pretty good. And I think they're very good at the positions that matter. Again, Bill O'Brien keeps winning his division, and because they don't pay it off in the postseason, we kind of forget about him. Well, it's not like Andrew Luck had a ton of, we all love Indianapolis's rise, and then they weren't winning a ton of playoff games either. So I think the Texans are a real team. I think they have absolutely elevated the most important spot on the offensive line, and I'll put them at number 6. New England Patriots. I think by the end of the year, they could be the best team. I don't think they'll be the best team early. They lost to David Andrews, the center. I'm sorry, that's a big deal for New England. He calls the audibles. I think their wide receiver group could be good, but it's really choppy. Josh Gordon just arrived. Edelman was out for most of camp. Demaryius Thomas was out, then cut. He's back. N'Keal Harry, who I think could be really good wide receiver, he's on the IR. Gronk retired. Chris Hogan's gone. They're a running power team now more than I ever remember, but I don't think their O-line and their receiving group will be settled. And they open with Pittsburgh. That's no day at the beach, so if they have a choppy September, don't be shocked. Slightly ahead of them, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got rid of some noise. They're very focused. I think they did a really job to quietly upgrade their defense. They went and got Steve Nelson, a corner from Kansas City. I think it's maybe the best secondary potentially they've had in a while. They went and got Mark Barron, who can play linebacker. They went and drafted Devin Bush, who has been very, very good, it looks like, so far in the preseason. I think their defense is going to be better. They led the NFL in sacks anyway. I get the noise of Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Those stories are now all gone. Big Ben, by the way, led the NFL in passing yards last year, so his precision is not as good as I'd like, but he continues to be an elite, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And also added Dante Moncrief. James Washington looks good at wide receiver in year 2 from Oklahoma State. I got him at 4. L.A. Rams. I know because I'm in L.A., Colin, Rams, Todd Gurley's back and healthy. Cooper Kupp, who's actually the guy they target more than any other receiver when he's healthy, is back. They've added smart guys like Eric Weddle. Their offensive line, they've drafted it well. And, they ranked in top 5 last year in rushing, in passing, yards per game. Only team in the NFL top 5 in both. I think they're a very balanced offense. In their division, they've got rebuilding Arizona and kind of not sure what to make of them, Seattle. And a San Francisco team that's talented, but they're rebuilding. I think it's very possible they go 5-1 in their division. I have Rams at 3. Philadelphia Eagles, I think, will end up in the Super Bowl. The best combination of offensive and defensive line talent in the NFL. Carson Wentz got hurt last year, but even last year with Carson Wentz, he had a career high in completion percentage, passing touchdowns, passing yards a game. They've added Deshaun Jackson, a very nice deep threat, though at the end of his career, he can still make plays. Andre Dillard, a tackle, maybe the sleeper in the draft, if a first-round guy can be a sleeper. I think this is just organizationally a very strong outfit. GM Howie Roseman, the owner, the coach, and the quarterback. I like the Eagles a lot. Kansas City Chiefs. I think Andy Reid's teams start really hot. He's a great play designer in the offseason. They'll unveil some new tricks. I do not buy for a second that Patrick Mahomes is going to, he peaked last year. Well, if that's the peak and he comes down 5%, I'm okay with that. The thing I like about him, they added Shady McCoy this week to give them a little running back depth. They made a huge acquisition this offseason in Frank Clark, Seattle's best defensive lineman. I think between Chris Jones and Frank Clark, they are going to be a complete handful up front. They've won at least 10 games in 4 straight seasons, but like the Houston Texans, because they don't pay off with a lot of playoff wins, you think of the Texans and you think of Kansas City. It's a double-digit win team. This is what they do. They win 10 games. Andy Reid's one of the best coaches. They led the NFL last year, averaging almost 430 yards a game. I do not see it going down. By the way, they drafted a wide receiver, second round, McCole Hardman. Watch him. He had a good preseason. Keep your eye on him. So I have Kansas City number 1. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.